I've gone on and on how Power Rangers is this fun adventure show. Let's change gears for a bit. This time I'm going to talk about the cool, mindless fun of the series. I have to admit, the things that brought me to the series is the action, the fighting, and the special effects. If these things didn't exist, the show would just be a soap opera. One of my favorite elements of the series is how the Zords and Megazords finish off monsters. The show's come up with some really interesting ideas, a few kind of gruesome like Dragon Zord Battle Mode's Drill Lance, and others that are super flashy like Wild Force's Roar.
Defender Toro Zord Axe.
One of the extra weapons given to Toro Zord is the Axe weapon, where he does this energized lightning strike. This is probably the most common type of finisher. A lot of them charge up and do a circular motion, channeling a planet or a sun. I love lightning attacks. These finishers usually get to be more over the top, spinning out of control, or some epic weather change. The one thing I wish these finishers did, stun the enemy. What's the point of lightning rangers and attacks when they don't paralyze? Toro Zord's axe is my favorite type. Other axes are pretty much the same. This one looks like it was forged in gold. The etching done on the blades make it really nice. I like a legacy version of it.
Furnace Blast.
Such a great attack. What better way to get back at monsters? They have attacked rangers, killed or taken people hostage, damaged the city, stolen buildings, all the crazy nonsense. Furnace Blast not only flamethrowers the bad guy, after it finishes, Solar Streak absorbs the monster and converts them to power its systems. Daggeron literally turns them into charcoal. Probably the best trolling finisher the show has done. It's probably Daggeron's way of getting back at the monsters who turned him into a frog. I mean, wouldn't you be pissed off trapped as a frog for countless amount of years?
Savage Spin.
This one is one of the few times a finisher doesn't use weapons or a sword. It just uses the Megazord itself, and it's possible to do with the actual toy, which is great. It always sucked. You wanted to pose the figure to do the finisher, but you really couldn't do it. Megazords don't usually come with FX parts like SH Figuarts. At best, somewhat do it. At worst, can't do anything at all. There's just no way you can get Deluxe Daijujin in the slash pose. The Jungle Pride can spin and do the finisher. The Japanese version comes with lights too, so it gives that extra blur effect. It's also funny seeing the Rangers spin around inside the cockpit. I wonder how many bloopers happened on Geki Ranger. Of all the Megazords, this one has to have the physical movement controls.
Dino Drill.
The Thunder Swords has like 3 finishers. The sword, the Terra Boomerang, and the best one, the Dino Drill. It's really fun to see. They jump right in the air and drill right into their face. It was really nice because it was a dynamic move that Megazords don't do often. CG Megazords weren't that common in the show, so you went wow when they did it every so often. It can drill through pretty much anything, spaceships to multiple monsters. The toy version can totally do the same movements. The arm and feet are flexible enough to be posed in every direction. I noticed dinosaur seems to love to drill monsters' brains out.
Flaming Saber.
I would say this is the most calming finisher a Megazord can do. You wonder why monsters never attempt to dodge these moves when they take forever to charge. It channels the power of the sun and strikes them with fire. My favorite bit is the way the sword is summoned from the Lightspeed logo and it builds straight up. That looked cool, and less chance of getting screwed. A monster could easily smack the power sword away as it flies down. I always found it funny that a rescue team would use fire to take out a monster when they're the ones that put out flames.
Jungle Master Stampede.
Can you really count this as a finisher? I really like it regardless, because it's just a screw you attack. It's like everyone got that pissed off by the monster, not dying easily, grabbed every Zord and just bum rushed the monster into oblivion. Seeing everyone just ram the monster, do all their attacks and energy moves is funny. It's one of the most unique finishers for the show, right next to the Mighty Mammoth throwing the power spheres.
Mock Crossbow.
We rarely get Megazords that use bows and arrows. We've had so many swords and axes, you'd think they want to do more projectile-based weapons. It's not your regular bow, it's made from water generated by the Whale Zord. They don't have to carry around a bow, and they don't have to worry about whole endless amounts of ammo that usually happens in the shows. It sucks with the toy version though, since you don't get the water bow or arrows. The Mach finisher is also similar to the Condor Galactazord finisher. I would like to see a Lost Galaxy RPM team up just to see these two finish off a couple of bad guys together.
Delta Command Lasers.
When the SPD team is royally screwed, they call for the Delta Command Megazord, their biggest Zord in their arsenal. It's just a walking gun platform. Every bit of the DC Megazord has something. Finger machine guns, knee lasers, and the main chest solar panel, charging up to give a devastating blast on enemies. What better way to use clean energy? I always saw the finisher as a giant microwave. It cooks the monster into blowing up. When Broodwig took it over, that was really bad for the city. The DC Megazord is so huge. If he was able to fire off the finisher, he would have wiped out most of the city.
Astro Delta Punch.
It hit a lot of points. It's a cool finisher, it's fancy, it has grid effects, you can't go wrong with them, brings back the 1980s with the obsession of grid patterns. The toy can somewhat do it, and it's the Ranger's way of showing off to the monster. We can kill you right now, but let's just use these 2 fists and take our time.
Time Strike.
The most effective finisher for PR, I guess one of the more humane. PR finishers don't usually stop monsters in place, which I always thought was weird. This one does a lot of stuff. The clock comes down onto the monster and locks them in place as either the Mode Red sword or the Shadow Force Blizzard Slash hits the enemy. It's just so many things at once. The best feature, it contains the explosion of the monster so they don't have to worry about city damage. It's a more satisfying finisher for me because the Time Force Rangers physically do it. The Rangers direct the Megazord with movements versus just pushing buttons. When it comes to special attacks, I always like the more original ones. Anything that doesn't use a sword slashing down, I'll go for that. Because Power Rangers does a ton of generic sword slashes. They have little things here and there, but it's just the same old stuff. Other runner-ups are the Swordfish Zord's finisher in Samurai, the Hurricane Megazord's Tornado finisher, and the Omega Megazord's Rocket finisher. What are your favorite finishers? And if you have an idea for a future top 10, leave a comment down below. Next week, I'll be going into my 10 favorite season finales.